On today's makeup version of the Truth Hour, we will recap the Trump administration bringing Christ back into the discussion as a nation. Also, the UN budget cuts, along with many other jam-packed details surrounding the Mueller investigation and the fake Trump dossier. All of that and much more today on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on. What kind of show you guys put on? I want the truth.
Good morning. Welcome to this makeup version of the Truth Hour. I appreciate your attendance this morning. My name is Shane Jameson, and you are on the Truth Hour radio program. Want to give our audience a quick and brief explanation of yesterday's events. About 20-25 minutes in on the Truth Hour yesterday, we were made aware of a local tragedy here. A good friend, fellow Christian, Jonathan Flickinger, passed away tragically in a car accident up close to Butler, PA. Yesterday morning, close to 7:30 a.m. and just heartbroken. And so we cut this short. When we were made aware of this, when I was made aware of this, went ahead and signed off and went and visited the immediate family and just tried to be there and to console. And so I would ask my Truth Hour radio audience to keep the Flickinger family in your prayers, along with the extended family, the Bunners, and a number of other family, our church family, at the passing of Jonathan. He was a real good friend, a man of few words, but highly admired. He leaves behind a wife and two children, and a lot of immediate and extended family that are mourning his loss. So we'd ask that you'd keep them in your prayers. So anyways, that's where we left off yesterday, and so I won't dwell upon that. And I do appreciate your patience and flexibility with me and cutting that episode short yesterday. I do appreciate my audience. So anyways, we will dive back in. I believe we were front and center with the Trump campaign and President Trump's willingness to invoke Christ and God back into basically the mainstream, if you will, invoking our Judeo-Christian values in his speeches, his addresses, both stateside and abroad, which has just been phenomenal. The energy and the passion that comes from that, and we were discussing the trickle-down effect, of what that does. What does that do, for this country, and for that matter, the world in general, when the president of the free country, the free world, the greatest power in this world for freedom, the United States, invokes God and Christ. I think it's just powerful. There's a lot of trickle-down benefits of that. Once again, it empowers our everyday, communities, our families, our individuals to look to God and look to Christ. Absolutely awesome. So, kudos to Trump in that. We had actually gotten into a video yesterday, and we've already played it. I won't replay that. I'll just go ahead and elaborate on that. Paula White is part of the Trump administration. She's part of the evangelical team that surrounds Trump. I think he's got a few other individuals, and I can't recall their name at this time. But, she was on with Fox and Friends and was interviewing there and just went to bat for Trump. And it's, and what's funny is if you've kept up with politics over the last 8 or 10 years, you don't have to go to bat to prove it. It's evident. Obama and his administration just kicked the can, and, in my opinion, on purpose. He just did not exuberate Christian values. Took every chance he could to diss the Christian faith and our Judeo-Christian values as a whole, and I don't think hardly ever invoked God or Christ. So what a blessing to have such a 180 in the White House. And welcome everybody that's kind of logging on here. Looks like Lauren's back. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Whoever else is on here, if you're watching, go ahead and chat so we can acknowledge who you are and give you a shout out. And please follow us, like us, subscribe to us. Feel free to contact me via email with any questions or concerns or comments or topic suggestions at truthhourradio@gmail.com. That's truthhourradio@gmail.com. And I'd be glad to take your suggestions, your comments, or topic suggestions. Once again, I appreciate that. But yes, we had a pretty good audience going there yesterday when we had to go ahead and cut short. My daughter Cheyenne and my son-in-law Dakota were on, along with briefly my oldest son Cooper. He's actually at swim today, feeling a little bit better. So if anybody, if y'all kept him in your prayers, I appreciate that. His chest cold of sorts is kind of on the way out. So I took him up to practice today, kind of do a light duty workout because he's got to keep his progress. He can't let that go. He's got a big meet coming up here in a few days. So, with that said, and there's my daughter right there, Cheyenne, way out in El Paso, Texas. I'll go ahead and get that in. We do appreciate you being here. Hour difference between Texas and PA, so I do appreciate that. And following on the heels of that unfortunate tragedy yesterday at the loss of Jonathan, I don't know. I think it's an opportune time at this holiday season to once again, guys, reflect back on what you're grateful for. To be grateful for your family. Hold them tighter. Appreciate them more. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Don't take that for granted, that they just somehow know that. Be willing to look them in the eye and tell them that you love them and show them with your words and your actions daily. Because you just don't know what day might be your last. It really hit hard yesterday, and a very trying and emotional day all around. And I just wanted to be sure and nail that point home. If you don't get anything else from today's Truth Hour segment, get that faith and family is where it's at. Everything else is all but irrelevant. And faith being the top of the pyramid there, putting God at the center of your life, having Christ at the center of your life, and everything else is irrelevant. And I love you too, Cheyenne. I love you too. And thanks for the thoughts and prayers for that family. Didn't sleep too well last night. Tossed and turned a lot, thinking about the events of yesterday and recent days and weeks and memories with that family, and in specific Jonathan. So it was a tough night. And once again, don't want to dwell on that, but. Just be grateful. Be grateful. Attitude of gratitude, right? Anyways, let's go ahead and pivot here. I'm going to go ahead and pivot. We've went ahead and touched base on the faith subject. Trump's got that back front and center. Huge turnaround in this country, and then the global environment is feeling that because of that. And to piggyback on that, Trump has, if you've kept up with the news in the last number of weeks, Trump has actually went where no other president has chosen to go, and that is he has decided to move our embassy, I believe, from Tel Aviv back to Jerusalem. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh, and the kickback from the world community has been unbelievable. A lot of people here in the, Democrats, and then you've got other countries in the UN. Speaking of the UN, actually voted against, oh my gosh, it was overwhelmingly against, and basically just ripped the United States for making that decision, ripped the Trump administration, voted I can't even remember what the vote was, but it was overwhelmingly against what the United States had decided to do in moving the embassy back to Jerusalem. So, in line with Trump's theme and his stance and leading with strength, what does he have Nikki Haley do? But get in front of the UN Council within a matter of hours or days and basically state, okay, you're going to condemn us for our sovereign right to put our embassy where we so choose. Well, we pay 20% of the overall UN budget, so how about we take $285 million from you? I can guarantee you we got their attention now. It's sad to say, but it's all about money with the UN. It's a joke of a organization to begin with. And then, Trump's all about making the good deals, getting the good deal. Well, we've been getting shafted for generations. I mean, here we are paying 20% of the budget for the UN, and they're going to sit there and slam us for our sovereign right to put our embassy wherever we so choose. I mean, come on. And then look at what leading by strength actually does. Leading from the front, totally 180 from the Obama administration. The apology tour, leading with, weakness, bowing to other leaders. Look at the 180 that Trump's got. He stands up, he says, you know what, we're going to put the embassy back in Jerusalem where it belongs. And as of yesterday, 10 other countries are going to follow suit. Yeah, 10 other countries are going to follow suit. Apparently they're considering, and it's probably going to happen. I mean, hey, you got a guy like Trump out in front, bulldozing away. Why wouldn't you ride the coattails of that? So you've got a lot of other countries that are looking to come on board with their embassy moves to Jerusalem, which is even further going to make the UN's decision to vote that down look ridiculous. So, and then, you start pulling on the purse strings, and I can guarantee you, attitudes will change once that happens. So, yeah, I just wanted to tie that in. I mean, great piece. I mean, so Trump standing on his faith, standing on, invoking our Judeo-Christian values, and then follows that up with, a very controversial move as far as the world is concerned, because even a number of past administrations just failed to go there. They didn't want to. There was too much political fallout. Well, the great thing about Trump, his middle name is I don't care about political fallout. That's a mouthful, but that's what he ran on. He's an independent. He is not tied to any special interest. He has no care about what the ramifications are about standing up for something that's principled. He tends to stand up for things that are principled. Now, I'm not giving the man a pass on everything. He's got a number of flaws, but gosh almighty, look at the number of situations where this man decides to stand up in front of a train or a bulldozer of opposition and doesn't care about the ramifications. We have needed that in the White House. We have needed that in this country, and we have needed that in this world for a long time, and we are seeing it unfold, ladies and gentlemen, every single day. So it's it's a blessing, and I look forward to watching the news almost every day. I look forward to keeping up with things. I look forward for another edition of Drain the Swamp. That's what it is. Donald J. Trump / Drain the Swamp. So yeah. And speaking of Drain the Swamp, our ongoing theme here on the Truth Hour, that's been our kind of, I'd call it our bread and butter, and I say that because it's been front and center, has been the fact that, Donald J. Trump, President Trump, has pulled the plug on the D.C. swamp, and he done it the day he took the oath of office. And kind of a dumb metaphor here, but you ever been in the shower and it's been clogged up? I don't know, hair gets in there, lint, whatever. Over time, you got to clean that thing out. So you're trying to drain it, and it just won't go, and you got to keep going down there and just being intentional and pulling stuff out, moving stuff out of the way. Well, I can guarantee you, this man gets up every day with the intention of draining that and making sure that drain is fully functioning, and he makes certain that his decisions of deregulation, pulling back all the regulations that other administrations, mainly the Obama administration, put on this country's, against this, capitalism and free market enterprise, i.e. the individual mandate, got rid of that here in this tax bill, huge tax cut, biggest in this nation's history, Trump's even Reagan's tax cut, back in the 80s. That's what this man lives and breathes for, is solving the corruption, solving the cesspool, solving, the kind of the bill and chill. Just sit back and, I work for the government, so, I'm just going to draw a paycheck. And, you ever notice that? You ever hear about hardly anybody getting fired from the government? If you got a government job, it's like, it's like you got immunity. Well, that's until President Trump took office. He has pretty much put an end to that. So, a lot of people looking over their shoulders nowadays. You either earn your wages and earn your pay, and then also fulfill your duties with ethics and morals and some sense of principle, or you can probably be looking to be packing your stuff up and going down the road. So, yeah. So drain that swamp. Here we are. There's more revelations, guys, daily about the ongoing special counsel Mueller, and I don't have anything that's just like bombshell opening this last week, but every week is a bombshell. The fact that this is gaining momentum, the fact that they're proving daily that this opposition research that is called the Trump dossier, that has dirty ties to Russia, but not through the Trump campaign, which they'd love to show a connection. There's no collusion or ties to Russia with the Trump campaign. What's being proven every day is there's a huge tie, huge main umbilical cord between the DNC, Hillary Clinton, and it's becoming more evident that the FBI has ties to this dossier, in the form of payments to the undercover agent that was part of that, Christopher Steele. I believe he was an MI6 agent, was reaching out. It hasn't been proven yet, but it's all but been confirmed that the FBI was going to offer him up to $50,000 or more if he could show a correlation and confirm a connection between Russia and Trump. Basically, and then you take that, right, and then they find all this fake stuff. Basically, just imagine grabbing out of thin air and just, it's hearsay. That's all it is. It's glorified hearsay. And so at the end of that, the bad thing is then you have that hearsay through the DNC and through Clinton finding its genesis with these corrupt FBI agents and Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Andrew McCabe, Comey, and a handful of others. The Orrs, I believe we discussed them. Mr. Orr, who worked for the FBI, and Nellie Orr, his wife, was actually on Fusion GPS's payroll at the time. All of these dots are starting to be connected. All of this is starting to be conveyed to the American people, and it's just amazing how much truth is coming out of this. It's ridiculous. But anyways, so what ended up happening, we've been through this. I kind of feel that I owe our audience, the Truth Hour audience, a little bit of a, recap every time we get into this, because there might be some people that are getting on, might not have ever heard this. So you have this, this push by the Clintons and the DNC underneath the Obama administration through the FBI and the DOJ, taking a opposition research pile of garbage that wasn't vetted. None of the information had been proven true or accurate, dressed up by what's probably going to be proven Peter Strzok and a number of other FBI agents, and i.e. the insurance policy that was quoted in a text between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page in Andrew McCabe's office, because they needed an insurance policy if, in fact, Trump was elected, because they just couldn't stand that. So, in my opinion, you don't have to ask any more questions. The insurance policy was the dossier. The insurance policy was the coordinated effort, the collusion between the FBI, the DOJ, and the DNC and other factions to make sure that there was something of relevance that wasn't relevant, but to make sure that something that wasn't relevant looked relevant so that they could dress that up into an official-looking FBI document, right? So you have something that's nothing dressed up and put into the form of an official document that then has relevance, right? Once the FBI decided to go there, once they decided to go dirty and to pull in, basically pull out all the guns and to make certain that a bunch of garbage and trash and hearsay somehow converted over to a relevant FBI document, then they had everything they needed. They had a genesis, they had a foundation for a lousy, corrupt investigation. And that all got started because what is believed to be Peter Strzok is probably one of a number of agents that had that presented to the FISA courts to get a warrant to wiretap anybody and everybody that had anything to do with Russia, and anybody and everybody that had anything to do with Trump. So, if you want to unpack that, they basically were given free rein by hearsay garbage transformed into an official document given to the FISA courts for a warrant. They had free rein to basically spy on fellow Americans and incoming administration. They had free rein to do that. If that doesn't scare you, you need to stop and look in the mirror. You need to stop and think about what that really means. That if you become too powerful, that if you become something that one side or one political aisle doesn't like, that if they have enough players in one side of the other, that they can weaponize branches of our FBI or DOJ against you. They can spy on you. Guys, that's third world country stuff. That's Russia. That's banana republics. That's dictatorships. And what's funny is the left has been trying to champion that and put that around the GOP's neck since day one. They've been trying to put that around Trump's neck. It's all garbage. The real collusion here. Now, not that Russia hadn't been trying to tinker and manipulate elections. That's, I think, a given. But Hillary Clinton lost an election fair and square. She was a corrupt candidate. She's a criminal. She should be behind bars. She didn't campaign. What's funny is she throwed money at the situation, didn't campaign in a number of the states that Trump decided to go to. She, along with the DNC, didn't and still don't have a message for the bulk of the American people. And the other principle that I'm always standing 100% behind, where the truth actually comes to relevance in this country and anything in life, and even in your personal life, is if you're fighting for something, you will always have the upper hand. If you're fighting for justice, if you're fighting for morals and ethics and principles, if you're fighting for those things, you'll always outshadow the people that are always trying to fight against something. Right? If somebody's spending all of their intellectual energy and emotion to fight against something that's moral and ethical and principled, it's in the Bible, guys. I mean, it's standing up for principle and truth. It's the only way to go. I mean, and so the DNC, it's simple. The DNC has done nothing but for years but fight against truth, fight against democracy, fight against capitalism, fight against the free market, fight against independence, fight against self-awareness, self-accountability, so on and so forth. It's the socialist agenda. You're a victim, and you need the government more, and we're going to set up policies to where you need us more, and guess what that equivalates to? Votes. You're nothing more than a vote to the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party and the far left have always had to have a certain segment of their base that is a victimhood, right? They have to have a victimhood status base to keep them even relevant. Well, guess what? That was broke. That was all broke this last election. That was basically shown the exit, in the biggest of terms, with Donald J. Trump winning the election. So what they're doing now is they're looking forward to 2018, but it's absolutely hilarious to watch because the left in this country, the far left and a lot of the Democratic Party, they haven't re-gauged and retooled their setup. They really haven't. Now I'm going to tell you one thing they have. I've said this weeks ago is they've went ahead and decided to throw a lot of their own under the bus and distance themselves from them, thinking that if they do that then they've got some kind of fresh start. Okay, they've thrown the Clintons under the bus. I forget the lady's name that came out and wrote the book. She was the one that was kind of the first whistleblower. It's real simple. They're wanting to make certain that the Clintons hop on a boat and drift off into the sunset, never to return to politics again, because they are like kryptonite to Superman. They're kryptonite to Superman. I mean, they are kryptonite to the DNC. They're kryptonite. But here's what's funny. So they gut all these people. They even start throwing their own under the bus because of the sexual allegations, right? But at the end of all of this house cleaning that they've done, they don't have anything to show for it. Because if you get rid of all of what you think is your corrupt and all of your bad seeds and all of these things, but you still don't come out of the end of that other end of that process with a message that is relevant to this country, that has principle, that has some elements of truth and justice in it, there's only one person in this country doing that right now, and he's in the Oval Office. So they're going to have to learn how to parallel that, or they're sunk. And, they're going into 2018. I said this, guys. The DNC, the Dems are the kings and queens of pivot. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, let's recap. So, Trump's coming into office. We're going to get him on Russian collusion. Collusion. That's all you heard. Collusion, Russian collusion, Russia, collusion. A year plus. Not a single sliver of evidence for collusion. Pivot. Obstruction of justice. Impeach. Obstruction from what? Okay, he fired Comey. He fired Comey because he had a constitutional right as a commander-in-chief to do so. There was nothing corrupt there. There was nothing obstructing. Well, there was everything corrupt with Comey, but there was nothing corrupt about Trump getting rid of corrupt Comey. So they pivoted, right? So they go from collusion. They can't find anything on that. Dems are great about finding islands. They manufacture and manipulate islands out of nowhere. Imagine out in the Pacific. There's nothing there, and all of a sudden, boom, there's an island. Well, the first island was collusion. Well, and they're going to defend that island with everything they got. But they can only kick that can so long. They can only kick that can, ride that, for as long as they can, extract as much political, juices out of that, right? So they ran that. There was nothing there. There's no relevance. And once they see that the gig's up, then guess what the Dems do? They pivot. They jump to another island. They manufacture another one. Well, that's corrupt. That's that's obstruction. Well, that's been proven false. That's been proven irrelevant, because I've said this from day one. He didn't obstruct anything in firing Comey when he had the constitutional right to do so, and just because the left thinks that coincided with the timing of this this investigation getting underway, and that somehow that's obstructing justice, it's an absolute farce. Okay, so they pivoted. They went from collusion to obstruction, and then once again, how can President Trump be obstructing something? How can he be obstructing something that is irrelevant from the start? If the dossier was presented to the FISA courts to get a warrant to spy on this administration and other fellow Americans, and was the genesis of the special counsel's investigation into Trump/Russian collusion, then the fruit of the poisonous tree applies. There is nothing moving forward from that can be used in the court of law, nothing moving forward from that should be used against the Trump administration. In my opinion, Papadopoulos, Manafort, and Michael Flynn's pleas are all irrelevant. Even if they did lie. I mean, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not standing here defending misleading statements or lying to the FBI. What I am stating is that you can't have a relevant and ethical and moral and principled investigation if it's based on lies. And if it was based on misleading the American people, and if it was based on all of that, and that's the genesis or the core of the foundation of this, then it's irrelevant. I mean, you take that same process and you go to a court of law, go to, your local, county courthouse, and there's going to be a jury, and evidence is being brought in, brought in for submission for the trial, and it's later made due that all of this evidence, supposed evidence that's been made available for the prosecution against a defendant, has been found to be flawed. It's been found to be obtained in an illegal manner, and it's been found to be hearsay, but it's been projected as fact and truth, guess what that means? It's thrown out. I mean, it's thrown out. I mean, so it's real simple. You can't move forward as a prosecution, investigate somebody, and convict somebody of something if it's based on just your whiffs, if, ands, or buts, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and if it's just on a whim that I just think this way, or I feel this way, or the certain FBI agents wanted this, or they want an insurance policy, and they came out and they went ahead and manufactured all this stuff together to make this garbage that's at the center of all of this. I mean, it's just ridiculous, guys. So the farther this goes, the more you learn. The further this goes, the more you learn. And to Trump's credit, I mean, I'm torn on Mueller. I mean, there's people that say that he is a straight shooter, he's non-biased, but you can't. And he's a Republican, appointed by a Republican, right? But see, there's something wrong with that. If he's straight shooter and he's straight up and he's above reproach, then why, when Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's text messages were made apparent to him and there was clear bias, right? When Mueller found out, the first instant he knew that there was this clear undermining process going on, and he removed Strzok and Lisa Page. He removed them from the investigation. I think they're in like HR now, right? In my opinion, what are they even doing in the FBI? They should be, File 86, gone, out the back door, no pension. Why are they still there? So they're still there. He does pull them from the investigation, but guess what? Congress, upon knowledge, he even let Congress know that he had pulled an agent from the investigation, but guess what he left out? He refused to acknowledge for 4 long months the reason why he removed Strzok and Page from this investigation. You don't think that would matter? He refused. He slow-walked it. He slow-played it. He slow-rolled that. Finally, after just, I think, being subpoenaed, or there was I don't know if it was Judicial Watch coming out and doing a Freedom of Information Act. I don't really know exactly how that actually was forced to be public knowledge, but it took 4 long months. Well, how much damage did Strzok do? Here's the thing, and everybody's like, oh, well, he pulled him out of there. Let the investigation go forward. Are you kidding me? How about the fact that he's at the genesis of helping exonerate Hillary Clinton with the email scandal? Strzok's at the center of being the one that redacted and corrected Hillary's exoneration letter that basically stated that instead of gross negligence, there was, it was just careless. So taking it from a criminal status to just irresponsible, which takes away the criminal element, right? So none of that makes any sense. I mean, so Strzok's at the center of all that. He's at the center of investigating Flynn. Him and a few other agents were a part of, basically having Flynn show up, not letting him know that this was an official kind of meeting. So Flynn shows up with no counsel. Flynn doesn't know he's under oath. Flynn doesn't know there's transcripts and audio recordings and tapes. He doesn't know that the FBI has already got, recordings of him talking with that, the Russian ambassador, Kislyak. And for whatever reason, answers incorrectly on a couple of answers. Okay, but so Strzok's at the center of that. He's also was present whenever Hillary Clinton was being interviewed. Funny thing, though. So Clinton wasn't put under oath. I wonder why. Why wasn't Clinton put under oath? Well, it's pretty simple. I don't have a law degree. If you don't want anybody to have anything that they say be used against them criminally, don't put them under oath. Then they can basically lie like, sing like a bird, and there's no accountability. So you add that up. You got on one side, let's just say that happened the same day. It didn't. It happened months apart. Hillary Clinton gets so-called investigated. She gets called into an office with undisclosed number of agents. No recordings, not under oath, no accountability. Flynn goes in and wasn't made aware that it was official, wasn't told that he was under oath, and then basically gets entrapped. And there was another element of this. When the transition team was coming into office, there was tens of thousands of emails and other correspondence that was picked up by Mueller in his investigation. And it was done without subpoena and without a warrant. And it never should have happened because it wasn't government property. Why wasn't it government property? Because before Donald J. Trump officially took the office, he wasn't a government official. Okay? So Mueller obtains all of this without warrant, without proper due process, right? Circumvents, just goes around everything. Obtains all of this. If it comes to find out in the upcoming days and weeks that some of these documents and client privilege documents, emails, and other said forms of communication were used in any way, along with the fake dossier to get a FISA warrant to spy, if any of that was used with foreknowledge when they interviewed Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, if any of that was used in foreknowledge and it was obtained illegally, then guess what? They entrapped 3 people, and they're still trying to entrap others. There's something wrong with that, guys. It stinks to high heaven. It's rotten to the core. It's just absolutely a joke. The good thing about it is there's enough traction going on now. And you know what's cool? I mean, and to Trump's benefit, I mean, he's just like, everybody, even, I mean, I don't honestly know where I fall on this, but like, everybody's like, you need to fire Mueller. They need to fire Mueller. Let him go. Put another special counsel in there. The guy's shown that he's, he didn't pass the smell test here, right? He's got all this evidence that there is a big, huge portion of, I mean, let's go back to the investigators he's put on his team against Trump. I think 50% or more have been shown to be Democratic contributors. They've all paid in to Democratic candidates. Hillary Clinton, Obama, Bernie Sanders. Okay, that's not bias. I'm not saying that you can't have a political opinion. But once again, you think out of all of the dozens and dozens and hundreds of FBI agents that he couldn't have found some non-partial, non-bias, above reproach investigators that could have, the FBI's number one goal is to make certain that the American people can feel comfortable that none of what's actually going on right now is going on. That's his job as a special counsel. That's his job, is to make certain that investigations and inquiries into certain things are made in a certain way that there is no question from the American public that it's being done ethically and without bias. And Robert Mueller has not passed that smell test. He has time and time again either turned a blind eye, stocked his staff with Democratic contributors, and 2 of which had been on there until a number of months ago, are at the genesis of this investigation that probably signed off on the FISA warrant, probably helped doctor up the document, the dirty dossier, into a document that would then pass the smell test for a FISA court to give a warrant. I mean, but he pulls him, and so everybody acts like he's gone. Well, then that solves everything. It doesn't solve anything, guys. It basically proves that the very core of this is rotten and needs to be gone. So anyways, to Trump's, credit, he hasn't fired him. And part of me is kind of like, why get, it keeps bearing fruit. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? He's in there, and every day and second he's in there, it just keeps getting better. So, the more, I think Mueller's in a position now that he can't do anything about this. I mean, he's basically, and even Trump's like, I think Mueller's going to treat me fairly. I'm pretty certain he's going to treat me fairly. You know what that means? It's basically a wink and a nod to the special counsel and this investigation that we've got you over a barrel. We've got truth and fact and principle on our side, and I can guarantee you that you're not going to do something stupid like, I don't know, indict my son-in-law, Jared Kushner. That's been thrown out there that they might try to have, Kushner indicted for some kind of ridiculous statement that he made. And, it's all entrapment, guys. That's all they got. Papadopoulos, Manafort, Flynn, all of these indictments and pleas fall outside the original parameters of Robert Mueller's scope to begin with. In my opinion, that should make that frivolous and irrelevant. Where's people not beating the drum on that? You've got parameters. You're a special counsel, and they go, here, This is what we want you to investigate with American taxpayer dollar. Here's the parameters. You can't go too far this direction, you can't go too far this direction, and here's the words. Russian collusion with the Trump campaign to alter the election. Okay, tell me how Manafort got indicted for money laundering, for activities well before he had anything to do with the Trump administration. How does that fall within those parameters I just stated? It doesn't. Okay? Papadopoulos sitting in on a meeting. I think the words there were he actually tried to coordinate a meeting through Jeff Sessions to try to get something going with like a Russian meeting, which is fine too. But he didn't do anything wrong either. And then you got Flynn that had some shady dealings prior to the Trump administration that comes in, he's brought in. But none of this is relevant to Trump-Russian collusion, which was the original parameters. So, everybody on the left is always like, oh man, look at all these pleas. They must have pled out. I mean, if they're only looking at a few days or weeks of prison time versus years, and they've pled guilty and they're going to turn state's evidence, government evidence, there's got to be more here. Nah, what a joke. Oh, and there's my wife. Good morning, sweetie. So yeah, I mean, it's an absolute atrocity. It's a joke. So you've got 3 people that have pled guilty to ridiculous charges. I'm not saying they're still not infractions of the law and there should be some consequence. I'm not saying that, guys. All I'm simply saying is if you're given a parameter, how can you then legally just decide to charge people underneath the underbelly of that parameter and then try to get them to plea up into the parameter of the investigation? That doesn't make any sense, and that's what a lot of these experts are saying. They're saying that Mueller's tactic it's the domino effect. You get some of these smaller fish on something as stupid as entrapment. They entrap them into something. They have a pre-recording or they have documentation of past events, is exactly what they did with Flynn. Probably did that with Papadopoulos and Manafort, truth be told. They ask them questions based on that known information, only without the person knowing that they've already got it. And I'm not saying that's a justification to lie. It's never a justification to lie, but that's what happened. That's called entrapment. And then they charge them with misleading and lying, to the FBI, and then they use that as leverage to then turn evidence, right? So basically, you're trying to domino, up, and your ultimate goal or target is Trump. And Lauren says something there. Don't make his. Oh, yeah, my bad. I think Lauren was commenting on the fact that my wife had joined and I had said something nice about that or something. And Lauren's like, don't make his head bigger. True. Very true. So yeah, guys, I could ramble on about this forever. I'll spend about 40 minutes on that. We got about 15 minutes left here. Oh, yeah. Let's reflect back on the year of Trump. Let's show something that you won't find in the mainstream media. I actually follow Mike Pence and a number of the other government officials that I find relevant here, and Fox News will show this as well. But guys, let's take a look back, a real quick glimpse at the successes, and this is a macro snapshot. I don't think we got enough time in an hour session to go back through all of the benefits that Trump put forth in his first year in office. But front and center, and I agree with this listing here. You could actually revise this. I think putting God back in the discussion, putting Christ back, should be at the top of the list, okay? But with that being said, a close second and a first on this list is Neil Gorsuch in the Supreme Court. Period, end of sentence. That will help. That has been one huge incremental step towards swaying the balance in the Supreme Court. And there's, I think, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't know her name exactly. I think there's a couple of other judges there that are probably up for retirement. They're, I think a typical term is 30 plus years. I think Ginsburg's like in her 90s. I don't know the exact date, but she's been rumored to be retiring. I mean, if that happens, guys, I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go out and predict it. Trump's going to be in office for 8 years. There is no way, there is absolutely no way that at least one more, there's no way that at least one more of these judges doesn't retire. So we'll be looking at another conservative appointment by this president to the Supreme Court in a matter of months or a year or two. Mark my word, put it in the bank, and for every, left-leaning, pro-choice, slanted justice they have in there that gets replaced by a conservative Judeo-Christian value judge, I'm telling you right now, in the next big hallmark that this president will go down for in history, and I hope this gets to this point. I can't guarantee this. Nobody knows what tomorrow brings. But I'm going to tell you what, if we get another conservative judge in there on top of Gorsuch, and we actually tilt the balance conservatively in the Supreme Court for the first time in generations, Roe v. Wade will be addressed. Roe v. Wade will be reassessed and hopefully overturned. And that will be by far one of, if not the biggest things that this administration will have accomplished. To end the killing and murder of innocents in this country by the thousands every day would be an amazing step forward for conservative and Judeo-Christian values. Period. So, front and center is that. So Neil Gorsuch, and then you can see on there, repealed the individual mandate with Obamacare, guys. You're no longer forced. The government is no longer putting a thumb over you and stating, you must buy said product. If you do not buy said product, the government will assess you a fine. I mean, that's not the government out there. That's not the America I grew up in. And I don't know about you, but guys, I don't want the government telling me to do anything. It's not their job. It's not their job. Our rights are from God, not government. Period, end of sentence. Repealed the individual mandate. 17 million new jobs added, lowest unemployment levels in 17 plus years, guys. Huge, right? Here's another one. I actually did a little bit of research in this. ISIS is on the run. There's been a study done in the last few days, approximately 98% of the territory that ISIS once had. Now, this actually does go back into the Obama administration. About 98% of that has been decimated and taken from them and won back. Here's the key. Of that 98%, 50% of that 98% was done in the first year of the Trump administration. So then take the other 46%, and divide that out over the 8 years that Obama was in office. How long did it take him to get that 46 or 48%? Yeah. You can tell instantly who was serious about, kicking butt and taking names when it comes to terrorism and showing this caliphate what it's all about. So 50% of the 98% was done in the Trump's first year. Amazing. And then, last but not least, guys, largest tax cut in this country's history. Taking the corporate rate from 34 to 21. That's going to repatronize billions of dollars back into this country, back into this economy. It's going to bring tens of thousands of new jobs over the course of the next number of years. It's going to rocket fuel this economy further than it's ever seen, faster than it's ever seen. Probably even more dramatic than when Reagan was in office. I mean, heck, before this tax plan was even signed in last week, just the thought that Trump was actually going to be able to pull this off sent the stock market into record territory 70 or 80 times this past year. Record territory closes almost every other day. So I don't know about you. You got a 401k, you got a retirement plan, you got something going on. You're smiling right now. My wife Christy has one at the place she works. I mean, that's doing good. I mean, guys, you got more money from your investments, so it's a double-edged sword for the positive. It's more money in your pocket because the economy's doing better, which means more companies are hiring, which means more companies are paying more companies are giving bonuses, more companies are doing, whatever, fill in the blank. And then, this next year, starting in January, guys, you're going to start seeing more money in your everyday check, your every other week or every week, whenever you're paid. You're going to get more of that money back. I think they doubled the deductions. I don't have all the facts in front of me. But guys, it's huge. It's huge. No way around it, guys. The tax cut. And here's the thing. It's like, what is the Dems going to run on in 2018 and 2020? What are they going to run on? How do you tell your constituents and your base that you're running against something that put money in their pocket? I don't care who you are. If you're a socialist Democrat or a extreme right wing, or if you loved Bernie Sanders or Ted Cruz or Donald Trump or Barack Obama, I don't care who you loved in office, if at the end of next year you had more money in your pocket than you did the year before because Trump's tax plan, that transcends political aisles. I don't care who you are. The left can try to champion that as something horrible, but I don't care. Putting money back in your pocket is something they can't defend against. They can't fight against that. And Lauren's jumping in here, that he states he doesn't have to pay the health care fine. Yeah. So, well, that's what happens, guys, when a government basically is out of control and tells you what you have to buy, and if you don't, you're going to get punished for it. I mean, the only way Obamacare was going to work is if everybody turned into a bunch of sheeple and decided to do what they were told. And I'm sorry, this is the greatest country on planet Earth. It's still free, unbeknownst to the left and unbeknownst to the, to the socialists in this country that would rather have it another way. It's still a free country, and you can't tell people what to do, and it fell flat of its face. When they rolled this thing out, the website crashed 1,000 times. They couldn't, government can't do what the private sector and the capitalist system in this country can do. They have no business using your money to do anything other than, defend our borders and to make certain, that we're safe. That's the president's job. Outside of that, give me my money back. Let me spend it the way I so choose, because you can't spend it any better than I can. I'm sure everybody on here thinks the same way. I mean, if you don't, then we need to talk. Oh, love you guys. So, yeah. So, looking into this next year, guys, GOP and Trump, they got a tailwind blowing behind us. Democrats, they're climbing Mount Everest, guys. They don't have much. They don't have it. They're going to try to beat the sexism drum. Try to see if they can get something to stick on Trump and anybody else in the government that identifies with the Trump administration in any way. They're going to try to do something. It's their ultimate pivot. They're down to scraps, guys. All of these sexual allegations against certain individuals, now they're going to try to get that to stick to Trump. They don't have anything. And once again, guys, it falls back on what? They're fighting against something. They're not fighting for anything. They're not standing up. They don't believe in anything. Well, they do believe in a lot of stuff. They believe in taking more of your money. They believe in giving it to other people that don't deserve it. And they believe that you don't have any right to your guns. You don't have any rights to protect yourself. They believe that we should have open borders. They believe that since we are a nation of immigrants, that somehow that applies to everybody at any time. They believe that somebody that crosses the border illegally deserves all the social welfare that is been provided to the actual citizens of this country for occasional emergency use anyways. Under Obama, there was record food stamp usage. Record. I mean, people were crutching on the welfare services of this country, including the illegal aliens of this country. So, it was horrible. Trump's all about self-sufficiency, independence, accountability, and less government reliance. What's not to love? So, guys, we're about 3 minutes out here. I've rambled pretty good and long. I don't know much anything else. Appreciate you guys for being on here today for this makeup session of the Truth Hour radio program, following yesterday's unfortunate events. And once again, I'll ask that you'd keep the Flickinger family in your prayers, along with the extended families, the Bunners, and a number that, our church in general. We'll be mourning the loss of Jonathan for a good while. But I'll tell you what, make lemonade out of lemons, guys. He is in a better place. And thanks to his faith in Jesus Christ. And once again, guys, like I said over the weeks past, have your priorities set. Put God at the top of your life. Try to work hard every day to do that. Study the Word of God. I fall short in that. I need to get better at that. I need to learn how to lead better at my own household. We all have weaknesses. We all have struggles, guys. But rest assured, if your faith is in Jesus Christ, you've been saved, been baptized, washed by the blood, everything else is irrelevant. Everything else becomes easy, right? Because you have no cares, no worries. Who cares when the unfortunate happens? Because if you're saved, you know where you're going. You're going to live with God in heaven. So, thanks everybody for being on here today. I love what I do. I'm grateful for this radio program. It gives me an additional sense of purpose throughout the week. I love bringing relevance and fact and political analysis throughout the week to you guys, and also trying to find faith segments. Please email me with any concerns or questions, topic ideas, truthhourradio@gmail.com. Please like me, follow me. Spread the word, guys. I appreciate you. I could do this. I wish I got paid to do this. It's always been my dream to be a radio talk show host one day. So, hey, who knows? Keep me in your prayers. I'll keep you and your family in my prayers. If you're traveling this New Year's holiday, please do so safely. We appreciate each and every one of you guys throughout this past year. We look forward to a blessed 2018. I hope the best for you and your family. Financial abundance, spiritual abundance, physical abundance. You can do all things through Christ. Okay? We love each and every one of you. So, until then, stay safe, stay real, and stay truthful. All right? Peace out.